attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. And so we are going to choose to have a great attitude today, right? This is what I can do. I have no power over anyone else. And of course, if you have been with me very long, you have learned to separate your goals and desires. And it is my goal to have a good attitude. If I keep having excuses about my attitude based on the way other people are treating me or based on what other people are saying or doing or other circumstances that are either happening in my favor or not, this is where my day unravels. Well, listen, your future is successive nows. It's all about right now and right now and right now and right now. So I need to be able to have the capacity to determine my attitude. And you know what? When we determine that we're going to have a good attitude, we wake up with an attitude of some sort. And then we've got to be able to say, okay, I'm going to have a good attitude today. I'm going to make the best of it today. So if you'd like to call me today, please join me on air. I'm taking your questions and we are going to be together today. So please give me a call. And let's see. Oh, I've got a caller on the line right now. Hi, this is Trina. How can I help you?
Hi, Miss Trina. I am calling because I have questions regarding narcissistic personality disorder and how they
Oh,
play out in relationships.
oh, yes, 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 yes. Tell me what's going on. What's your situation?
Yes, so my husband was in the military, and along with that, within the past couple of years, we have resolved to see that he actually doesn't feel emotionally, and he's become aware of this and has to be extra intentional. So we know that there's a part of his brain that whatever it is, we're trying to understand it, but sitting down logically, it makes sense to him. All of the things that are happening within him, but emotionally, it's like he's not able to connect both.
Yeah. You know that this is such a real thing, and when you're married to someone who is got PTSD. They have this post-traumatic stress disorder based on their military, situation, the military experience that they've had. This is so painful for them. What happens is they have built a hard heart because of what they've been through, and so when you can't give and receive love correctly, of course, that's going to be problematic in a relationship. So if this is something that he has realized about himself and that you realize about him, then yes, this is narcissistic personality disorder is essentially this hyper sense of self. It is selfishness kind of on steroids. It's where everything, every single thing is filtered through what is in my best interest, what is happening to me. So they have such a an elevated sense of sometimes self, they think that they're so great, or they it's a cover up for this tremendous insecurity that they have. But no matter what it is, they put everything through a filter of themselves. And so this truly is the opposite of love. When you're in a relationship and there's a loving relationship, hate is actually not the opposite of love, but selfishness is the opposite of love. And so when you're in a relationship with someone who is hyper selfish, you can see how it undermines the relationship. The best thing that you can do is understand it, seek to have compassion without labeling them. Now, if their narcissism is so extreme that is very abusive, then I always say you can stay or you can leave, but don't stay and complain. Like, you have to determine on the spectrum of how damaging their narcissism is to you, to the family, to the relationship. And if it's very abusive, then you've got to be able to have the courage to walk away. But if it's something that can be managed by your compassion, I think it's amazing the power of love. Love is so powerful. God's love, agape love, love that will believe all things, hope all things, endure all things. It's so powerful. all. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says that love is patient and love is kind. And that's just the beginning of what it says. And so if we can take that patience and that kindness and that love and cover the narcissist with love, then we can have the best chance of cracking this shell of self that they have. They actually can begin to have that's like the light goes into the darkness and they can see the benefit of love. And just like the light will put out the darkness, the love will ultimately cover the narcissism, and it will be less and less if you're able to crack the shell. If you can't crack the shell, and the shell just won't be cracked because the hardness of their heart is so intense, then you've done all you can do, and that's all you can do. But if you see that your love is making some headway, if you see that it is bringing some light into the darkness, I encourage you to keep doing it, keep loving. And you've got to know the difference between a critical spirit and a caring spirit, because when you are with someone who is so self-absorbed, what can happen is it can cause you to become a person that you're not. It can cause you to become the worst version of yourself. And so you want to take personal responsibility to continue to be the best version of yourself, and just seek to understand what you're dealing with and why. And so then your caring spirit can actually go a long way to penetrate the hard shell that they have, and it can change their life. People can change, so you really have to be careful. You have to assess the situation to see how, if the situation is truly to a point that it is so abusive that it's absolutely destructive to stay in that relationship. But if the relationship can be changed through your behavior, through changing your attitude about your spouse, this can be your best chance of improving it. You know, but you want to be able to have a caring spirit versus a critical spirit, and you have to be cautious about the label, because if it's impossible for them to outlive their label, then they will be stuck in your eyes having this label of narcissism, that they are just narcissistic. And so if they're narcissistic and they can't outlive that label, well, then the relationship's over right then, because there's truly nothing that they could do. But if you're able to have the capacity to have a caring spirit, the difference between a caring spirit and a critical spirit is significant. And the scripture talks about having a caring spirit. It talks about kindness and the power of kindness. The power of kindness is so amazing. And this is what love is. It is patient, it is kind. And especially when you're dealing with someone who has PTSD, they have such a need for healing. And this takes time. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes consistency, a consistency of you loving them as is, for the hope of them to change someday. And it's important to talk to them seriously about their level of selfishness and how it wounds you, and hopefully a little bit at a time, as you're talking to them with a caring spirit instead of a critical spirit, it will begin to impact them and ultimately impact the relationship. But it's very easy to label someone and to then have a critical spirit, and that's not love, and it won't be productive. And so even though you see what the problems are in the relationship because of their behavior, a caring spirit is going to still assume the best, even though we can see clearly what's happening. A caring spirit will focus on our own self examination, even though we can see their faults. A caring spirit will condemn the action of the person, but we don't condemn the person. We continue to let love and care and the light of the love of Jesus pour out of us to ultimately and hopefully impact them. And I believe that it does. In fact, you see many stories and reports of how the hardest person is impacted by the love of God and the love of Jesus. But you would have to be able to assume the best while yet not uh, accommodating the worst of their behaviors. You want to be able to build them up Okay, because even though they're narcissistic, there is some good in them. And so if you can take that good in them and begin to build them up instead of tearing them down, you have the best chance of impacting their life. And so these things, when you can respond with mercy towards someone who is narcissistic versus a lack of mercy towards them, you have the best chance of impacting them positively. Now, if their narcissism is so bad and so abusive, and if there's also addictions involved and different types of addiction and abuse and even abandonment of the relationship or adultery where they've abandoned you and they're with someone else, well then that's a different story. That's the case where you have to say enough is enough. And you can't be accommodating of any sort of abuse, but you can be patient and kind through it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So you accept the person as they are, as is, and then you continue to do whatever you can to impact their life in a positive way. But at some point, there has to be a deadline where you're able to say, okay, enough is enough. I've done all I can do, and that's all I can do. And if your love and the light in your life has not penetrated them to the point where it's impacting their life, then you accept the things that you can't change. And ultimately, we can't change another person, but we certainly can impact them by our love and our patience and our kindness. So love him well. And at some point, if the abuse is has crossed the line, then you have to say enough is enough.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for calling and asking the question. God bless you today. And call again any Monday. I'd love to hear from you. God bless. Bye bye.
So thank you.
Okay, so I hope that that helped to clarify for you guys. I think it is very dangerous to just label someone a narcissist, and then when you do that, it makes it impossible for them to even have an ability to overcome the label. And, selfishness is destructive in any relationship because love is necessary and selfishness is the opposite of love. What love is it's literally giving up yourself. It is dying to yourself and putting the needs of others above yourself. That's what love does. Well, when someone does not have the capacity to do that, well, then it causes the relationship to be destructive. But I always believe, and I hope that you do too, I believe that people can change. People can change, and love does impact a human heart. So, I always encourage people to think positively about what they can do. And I hear a lot of people say, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. Enough is enough. I've had it. I can't do it. Well, assess the situation because that is true at some point. At some point, you can't do any more than what you have done, and at that point, you'll have to walk away. And I'll repeat it. You can stay or you can leave, but don't stay and complain. And do what you can do as long as you can do it. And remember, your attitude makes all the difference. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So if you assess the situation and you don't think that it is so destructive that it's hurting your children, it's hurting you, especially if there's physical abuse, if there's addiction, if there's chronic immorality, even chronic dishonesty, this kinds of things, you can't a marriage cannot survive when these things are chronic, where there's chronic adultery and addiction and anger, when there's chronic abandonment and there's chronic abuse, when there's chronic lying and dishonesty. A marriage can't survive that. Now, every marriage can recover from these things when they are a situation, when they're an instance. We can recover from it. We can repent and forgive and recover from it. But you've got to stick with your gut to hold on to hope. And if the situation is something that you can save, by all means, do everything you can to save it. Marriages, we live in a world where we live in a disposable society where everything is throwaway. And instead of fixing things, people throw things away. And it's very important that you don't just throw away your marriage, that you don't just throw away the mother or the father of your children. You want to stick with it and don't give up. Okay. I want you to not give up if at all possible. Don't give up. Keep hoping, keep believing. And this is a powerful thing that I want to motivate you today. I want to motivate you. Just think about your attitude and what a difference it makes. What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to your marriage? Starting each day just with a smile, starting each day with a positive attitude. This lays a foundation. Starting each day with kindness, carrying kindness throughout your day. And I know that it's hard. When things are hard, it's hard. It's hard to stay kind. It's hard to not give up. It's hard to keep smiling. I know it's hard, but you can do it. If you think you can, you absolutely can. So give me a call today. It's Motivation Monday on the Her Show. And so I'm here to help you out. 817-637-2585. And I've got a caller on the line. Hi, this is Trina. How can I help?
Hi, Trina. This is Monica.
Hey, Monica.
I'm calling. I would like to have you give me some advice. I'm a mom, and my son has turned 6 years old, and he's coming back to school. I needed your advice, so I want to be really careful with this new trend of gender and this topics going on school. What is your advice for a mom to take care of the heart of their children, to learn the right things and keep them in the ways of God?
Well, it's just this is such a topic. It's a hot topic in America today because of the LGBT plus community that is
Mm-hmm.
really, really seeking to recruit for
Mm-hmm.
their community. They want their community to grow. So they're recruiting, and the trans community is really recruiting for their community. And gender
Mm-hmm.
confusion is something that you are seeing in children now, but that's never been a situation before. And it should
Mm-hmm.
not be. And so you need to use the word gender confusion, and it's important to talk to your child about the fact that they are a boy or they are a girl. This is
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you're not already talking about. Your little boys know that they're a little boy. They know that there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between man and woman, between daddy and mommy, between male and female. Like they know this, and it's genetics. This is
Mm-hmm.
DNA, this is body parts, this is genetics. So it's not ever a matter of opinion. Expression is different. So we all have a different personality type. We all have a different expression, but nothing changes the fact that we are either masculine or feminine. We are male or female. We are boy or girl. This is completely scientific and genetic. So, when you talk to your child in a way that is very diplomatic and very matter of fact, and you're not afraid of the topic, it's so easy then to help them through through any circumstance where this could come up. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't over talk about things. I don't talk about anything else in advance. Like, for instance, your 6-year-old doesn't need to know about they don't need to be exposed.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't need to take them to a strip club where there's a trans agenda
Mm-hmm.
with a special, whatever. You don't need to read special books about it. You don't need to do it. But when it comes up, my grandson, who is just a little bit older than your son, on his baseball team this year, his mom looked like a man, like
Hmm.
legit looked like a man. But it was his mom. And so everybody's thinking, is that a man or a woman? Like, you can't really tell because it was his mom. He called it his mom, this person his mom, but this person literally looks like a man. Well, we did not discuss it because we just went with what was happening in their family dynamic. Now, I just made friends with this lady. I made friends
Mm-hmm.
with her. I just talked to her about, I wasn't standoffish with this person just because I literally still to this day don't know if physically this is a man or a woman. I don't know. I just know that this little boy called this lady mom, so I'm assuming it's a woman. But, uh, but if it comes up, like for instance, there's someone in their class, and this happened with another one of my grandchildren. There was a person in their class that was a little boy, and then next year they're coming back to school as a little girl. So
Oh,
at
wow.
that point, then you have a specific conversation about gender confusion. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? There's all kinds of confusion in this world. And that's the benefit of being a Christian. And so that's when you can tell your child, the benefit of knowing God as our creator is that we don't have to be confused. And people are confused about all kinds of things in life, all kinds of things in this world. And there are many mysteries. But one thing that's not supposed to be a mystery is if you're a boy or a girl. You know this by the way that by your anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is specifically an anatomy issue. And, when if they have questions about it because of other things, you just say, you know what, we're kind to everybody. And even people who are confused, we're kind to them, but it doesn't change the fact. And I think it's very important because in the terminology, when you have male and female, we have male and female. We also have trans males and trans females. But
Mm-hmm.
just because they have gender confusion or just because they're trans doesn't mean that that changes the DNA. And just because they're confused doesn't mean that I'm confused. Just because they chose to identify as something else doesn't mean that I identified them as something else. But I'm kind. I'm kind throughout the whole process. And I think it's very important that kids understand kindness beyond if someone agrees with us, And so, but these kinds of topics you take as they come,
Mm-hmm.
but you cover the facts and you keep the facts. And this gender is like the easiest thing you can talk to your kids about. It's so easy because it's so explainable. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just so obvious. Um,
Yeah.
and so, but take it as it comes, but don't be afraid of it. Because if you get freaked out about it, if you get afraid of it, like don't be afraid of and don't have any phobia
Mm-hmm.
associated with with anybody that's in the gay community or in the trans community. There's no reason to have any phobia at all. So you don't want to pass any phobias down to your children. You just want to teach them specifically what the truth is. And then they're not confused because it's so easy to decipher the truth. And so it, it'll help them have security, when they don't have any confusion. And
Yeah.
it brings so much security to just know what you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just not a mystery. My grandson, as my grandkids I've got 12 grandkids, and right now they're ranging from ages, well, newborn until up to 15. So this is the world that they're living in, but it's just so important to be very vulnerable, to speak out, and to always speak with kindness, and to have faith-based thinking versus fear-based thinking. Because even though this is a world where this is something that where there's a greater agenda, I think
Mm-hmm.
recruiting agenda more than there's ever been before. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. We can go back and have biblical illustrations, of
Yeah.
of these kinds of things. But it's nothing that we need to be afraid of. We just have to be clear about it and be confident about it. And ultimately your kids will become like you are. If you are afraid or phobic, then they will become that way. If you are confident in who you are, if you're confident that they know who they are and that you know who they are, there's nothing to be afraid of because you're confident in the truth, and the truth is just in terms of gender, the truth is just so obvious. And so you just speak the truth, and they will be as confident and solid as you are. But if you get phobic or freaked out about it, then they'll do the same. So you
Mm-hmm.
just know that you're confident, you're solid, there's no confusion, and you're not afraid of the topic at all in any way, shape, or form. You're not afraid of the topic. So,
Awesome.
girl, thanks, Monica. Thanks for calling. Hey,
Thank
Have a
you.
great school year, and I wish a great school year for your little guy too, okay?
Thank you.
All right, Monica, God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, y'all, I'm Trina on JoCo Community Radio. Stay with me. I'll be right back after the break.
Accelerated Graphics and Science 101 East Renfro, Sweet C in Burleson, Texas, can handle all of your graphic needs. Need a banner or promotional products for your business? They got you covered. T-shirts and caps for your group. All you need to figure out is if you want them screen printed or embroidered. How about some slick graphics on that hot ride to make you stand out from the crowd? Accelerated Graphics and Science can handle anything you throw at them. Located at 101 East Renfro Street, Sweet C in Burleson, Texas, go in and see them. Call them at 817-991-0523 or reach them on the web at www.acceleratedgraphics.net. They are loud and proud and want to serve you. Accelerated Graphics.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered. When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
Welcome back to the Her Show. I'm Trina, and this is JoCo Community Radio. We are proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and we are live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. So to listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JoCo Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. So simply search your store and check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to Texas sales rep Nona Reed at 844-TEX-HAIL, 844-839-4245. She will be happy to help you. So thank you for joining the Her Show today. And if you'd like to be on air with me, just call with your questions. Today is Motivation Monday, so hopefully I can motivate you and answer your questions. 817-637-2585. And I've got a caller on the line. Hi, this is Trina. How can I help? Hello, this is Trina. How can I help?
Hey, Trina, how are you?
Oh, hi. Good. Thanks for calling. What's going on today?
So I was just calling to ask, I guess, how can I best support my husband through a career, like in a time of that specific transition?
You know, it's interesting. That's a really good question because it's the same as you would always support him, but it is different because you're supporting him simultaneously while you're feeling insecure. So that's the tricky part because a woman's number one need is security. And so anytime our husband chooses to make a job change or a career shift, all of a sudden we're getting our fear buttons pushed because we're feeling insecure. Can you relate?
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. So that's the tricky part, is being supportive of him while you're feeling majorly insecure yourself. And every marriage goes through this. Well, I would say every marriage, of course, some are more than others. But my husband, he went through several career changes throughout our marriage, 3 specifically. And one was successful, I mean, 2 were successful, 1 was not. And we were newlyweds, and he decided that he wanted to go into real estate. Well, real estate is a great business if someone else has a regular income, because you have no guarantee of where your next paycheck is coming from. So you
Yeah.
could be working and working and working and working, but it's 100% commission only. And so anyway, I mean, we were like, it wasn't working. We were not getting our bills paid. And at that time, this was in 1984,
Mm-hmm.
the interest rates, if you can imagine, were 16%.
Yeah,
16%. Like, it was a horrible time to be in real estate. It was a horrible time to buy a house. But anyway, it's what he decided to do. So I was supportive of him. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. So it's really difficult because I was actually watching him fail. And so he felt like a failure. He felt like he was not being a good provider, and he wasn't. He wasn't. Like, we weren't surviving. So in that, how am I supposed to be supportive, you know? So I remember that was like my first time. And you know, what you say is so powerful, and of course, what you think, and out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. That's what the Bible says. So you just have to, first and foremost, watch your heart to not become resentful. There's a scripture in Jeremiah that says, don't put your trust in mere humans, but put your trust in the Lord. And you really have to know that ultimately the Lord, Jesus, is your security. Jesus is your provider. He is your protector. And I think when we put all of all this pressure on our husbands, they sometimes fold under the pressure, and sometimes they just are in this constant state of trying to make more money. Like, okay, I'm going to switch from career to career to career to career because I'm always trying to make more money. And it seems like no matter how much money they make, we're not making it. And my grandma used to say that her grandma used to tell her, isn't that funny? This goes way back. That her grandma used to tell her, if wives are not careful, no matter how much money their husband makes, she can just flush that paycheck right down the toilet because of wasting food, wasting money, spending when they don't have it, just wasting. And so she really talked to me when I was a young bride, and we talk about it even now, about the importance of, no matter how much money our husband is making, that we are living within our means, that we don't waste the money. And she always contributed to their income. And at times she was even making more money than my grandfather was. I always contributed to our income as well. And so during times when my husband would transition to a career, whatever I was doing to bring in some income was at least keeping the lights on, and was at least keeping the gas tank full, and was at least, you know, being able to buy groceries. So that part-time income would help supplement, which helped to take the pressure off of him. And also it gave me some security that at least there's something in the time of the transition. But if he is in the decision-making process where he hasn't left one job yet and he's looking for another one, the best thing that you can tell him is, you can do this. You can do this. Whatever it is that you want to do, you could do it. You're not alone. We're doing this together. And I know that it might mean that we don't have as much money, but I am here for you. And it's not just your bills. It's not just your kids. This is our bills, our kids, our family, our home. And I care about it. So I care about you, and I care about it. But what is the biggest danger is your resentment. Because if you have this deep resentment in your own heart that he is not making enough money, and you resent it, or maybe if you think that there's another sort of a problem while how he's discontent in the career, that resentment's going to come out, and then that'll end up just adding more pressure, because it'll bring more pressure onto the relationship. So watch your heart, because your heart and your thoughts really matter. So watch your thoughts. Don't allow them to be negative toward your husband, because he loves you. He's working hard, and he wants to make the best decisions for the family. You know, he doesn't want the family to suffer. And so he makes these transitions because he's trying to make the best decision for the family. But but so he does need support in that. So honestly, the best way that you can support him is to guard your heart. To guard your heart so that your thoughts and your words and your actions, it will all contribute to your ultimate destiny of a great marriage that can go through any transition, not just a
Yeah.
career transition, because life is full of transitions. The one thing that you can be sure about in life, like absolutely sure, is that things will change. Things will not stay the same. But that can be
Yeah.
hard for us women because we feel security when things are the same, right? Right. So we feel security when things are the same. So when things are not the same and our husband is being dissatisfied at work or he's sensing the need for a career change, then if we go into fear mode, it's going to undermine everything. And even if we say that we're supportive, he's going to be able to tell that there's a vibe that we're just freaking out. So
Yeah.
you really got to watch your heart, because your heart affects everything. It affects what you say. It affects just the vibe. And if your heart is loving towards him, if your heart is supportive towards him, if you truly believe in him and you're truly trusting God, and your husband's not feeling the full pressure of the financial strain of the family, if you're truly putting the burden on the Lord and you're also wanting to share the burden with your husband, he's going to be so grateful. He will be so grateful, and it will make a really big difference. Now, keep in mind, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your character becomes your destiny. Now, the two of you are building a life together. So there's a destiny that you want, and you guys want the same thing. You do. You want the same thing. You want your family to be well provided for. You want to be able to take a vacation once a year. You want the same things. You want to be able to work 5 days a week and have a day to have a family day and then have a day, to go to church or whatever. Like, you want the same thing, but you might have different ways of actually getting there. So I always think that the man, if he is the primary breadwinner and the wife is staying home with the children, whoever is the primary breadwinner, they need to have a free will to and to have the freedom to tell you if something is not right, if something is not working.
He is the primary.
Yeah, so he is. So if he has, so since that, so then he would be the one that when he says, "Honey, I'm not happy at work, and I'm not making enough money. I want to take a leap of faith and maybe start a different business or to get a different job or whatever. Can I have your support?" Just tell him, "You've got it. You've got this. You've got this." But they need to know that no matter what, there's a scripture that says that we each have our own burdens that we're carrying, but no matter what, we each carry our own burdens, but we're going to also lift each other's burdens up. So no matter what, he's got your support, but you're going to actually do your part too. I think
Yeah.
I think it's so important that he knows that you, like, with your words, with your attitudes, like, you're not afraid. And he needs to know you're not afraid of his failure either. If he fails,
That's so good. Yeah.
if he fails, you're not afraid of that. And you know, the scripture that I was trying to refer to and it didn't come out right is bearing one another's burdens, each bearing your own. You're bearing one another's burdens, but you're each bearing your own. You each have your own responsibility. You're taking care of yourself.
Mine is to not fear, to stay
Don't fear.
in
Don't
my
be afraid.
confession towards him of being supportive, actually stewarding my heart to where the support out of my mouth is my reality of my inside. It's not.
It is.
It's not. I'm hoping that we're going to be okay. I'm confident and I really believe we're going to be okay.
I'm confident, and eventually we'll be better than okay. We'll be very successful. And here's another thing that he needs to know is that you are content, that you're grateful for what you have and that you're content. And he also needs to know that you're not going to waste what you have. That you're going to be content and that you're not always wishing for something else, a bigger house, a better car, more spending money.
Clothes to have my nails done.
Yes. More spending money to have your nails done. You're content with the way things are. This is really, really critical. And then he won't feel pressure, even pressure to make you happy. That your happiness depends on how much money he's making. It's like, no, babe, like we're in this together. It's not just his thing. But yeah, that makes a difference, doesn't it? It does make a difference. So watch your heart and just go all in. Be so totally supportive, okay? You
Well, I
got this.
appreciate it. It's really sound wisdom. I'm going to apply this. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer.
I thank you so much for calling. Please call back anytime. And you know what? The best thing that you can say is, babe, you've got this. You've got this. I'm not afraid of anything. You've got it.
Alrighty.
All right, sweetie. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, I appreciate that question. Ladies, that's the thing is we can too easily go into fear mode. And if you go into fear mode, that begins to undermine everything. It undermines the relationship. It undermines your own confidence in your husband and in the life that you guys have created together. So, as soon as you sense that you're in fear mode, that's when you've got to go back into your prayer closet and say, "Okay, God, I'm going to trust you to get us through this." And we all get discontent at times. We all will sense a time in our career or in our life where there's a need for change. And if there's a need to change and they're feeling a need to change, even if you don't, just go ahead and take the plunge to say, babe, we're in this together and we're going to make the change together. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. You don't have anything to be afraid of. So thanks for the call. All right. I'm taking more calls. So give me a call, 817-637-2585. And I've got someone on the line. Hi, this is Trina. How can I help you today?
Hi, Trina. How are you?
Great. What's going on?
Well, I was just calling to see if you could help me navigate some empty nesting season with my children and my family.
Yes. Where are you at in this season? How old are your kids?
So I have four kids, all very close together. I've been married 22 years. I have a 21-year-old, 19, 17, and 15. So we are in a wonderful season of watching our children navigate life, discovering what God has for them. Also sending 2 off to college far away. And we have 2 to graduate with 3 more years left. And just wondering how to make this season better for our marriage.
Well, I think that what happens in this season of life that I know caught us somewhat off guard. Now, our children are all grown and they've been adults for quite some time now. And we have 12 grandchildren. And I think there's a wonderful book I'm going to recommend. It's by Jim Burns and it says, "Keep the welcome mat out and your mouth shut." And I thought that was great because, you do always want to be very hospitable when your adult sons and daughters want to come home and the welcome mat's always out. However, it's a transition for you because your opinion that was so important before truly is not what they want to hear now. Like you've already raised them, you've done a great job, and it's time for, to let go and to let them navigate this. Now, here's the difference. As children are coming into their adulthood, there's a difference between an adult and a dependent. Okay. So, in order for your kids to be an adult with adult status and you want to work very hard to make sure that they get there, they have to become an independent adult. For instance, if they're just 18 or if they're 21, they're kind of an adult on paper and they're thinking like as though they began to have adult responsibility. But if they're still a dependent, then that's different and your relationship with them won't totally be as as adult to adult until they become an independent adult, like after they graduate from college and they're independently handling all of their finances and such. And then at that point, you really do have to keep your mouth shut because they've now launched into their own life. They have the pink slip on their own life. But until then, I think the part that I was the most unprepared for personally was how it would affect our family financially, because this time of life is so expensive if you take on the full responsibility for paying for their college, paying for their weddings. Those are two major expenses that we found ourselves pretty unprepared for. We tried to prepare for it. And then, life gets lifey sometimes, right?
Right.
So we tried to
I
prepare for it, and then it sort of hit us, and then we had like, oh my goodness, we're trying to pay for their college. And then as they started getting married, while others were still in college and others were getting married, and we were like, not do they just need $10 here and there, but it's like they need $10,000 here and there, and
right. A $10 bill is a
20,000.
$100 bill now.
Well, yeah, but whenever you're talking about uh college bills and wedding bills, you're talking about 10,000, 20,000, $30,000, and then you multiply that by 4. Now we're in a place that we're like, whoa. And I think that I think that married couples forget that a lot of the pressure that they feel in their marriage during this transition time is actually financial pressure. And when that is the case, we've got to take a step back and look and say, okay, the stress that we are feeling is not personal, it is financial. So what can we
Right.
do? What can we do to strategize to do what we can do? But that what we can do is all we can do. And at that point, you have to be honest with yourself and honest with your sons and daughters about what you can do financially versus what you really are not don't have the finances to do. And it's so difficult to admit when you can't do something like pay for all of their college or like pay for all of their wedding. That could be extravagant. My brother's daughter is engaged now and she's finishing college next year, and it's a tight budget. And so they've had these family meetings about their finances. But what you want to know is you raise your kids to leave. And at this point, you have to really be very specific and do what you can do to finish the job well. Like finish strong, because you're not quite done yet. Until they are all independent adults, you are still in training mode. And I just encourage you, finish strong in the training. So in your marriage, do everything in your own power so that they can look at you and say, that's what a great wife looks like. So they can look at you and say, this is what a great mother looks like. So they can look at you and say, this is what a hardworking woman looks like. They can look at you and want to become like you, because ultimately, as you release your kids into adulthood, they will ultimately be like you. And so you want to be the type of person that if your kids turn out just like you, they're going to be awesome. So this is a time where you're really stepping it up, kind of like the finish line of the race. You're going to just step it up and run harder and stronger till you get to that finish line. Now, in your marriage, you only are half of the marriage, so you don't have the power to get your husband's cooperation with everything that you want to accomplish before your kids leave home. And so what can happen is it can really begin to create stress in the marriage, because you have like this checklist that you want to accomplish before the kids leave. But as I'm always
Right.
telling my clients, separate your goals and desires. It is your desire that your husband will do X, Y, and Z to fulfill what you think needs to be done before the kids are up and out. But it's your goal to do what you can do. And if you separate your goals and desires and you just keep praying for what you want him to really do, but you make it your goal to do your part, it is so much less frustrating, because you have the power to do what you determined to do. And so put all of your energy into doing what you can do on your own, to finish strong with your kids, to continue to support them, to plan for the future, to invest in your marriage and in this final phase of parenting, and expect that it will be stressful. It is a stressful period of time. It just is. Oh, but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
people used to say
beautiful.
the baby season, if you could just get them out of diapers and then get them sleeping through the night, and then everything just kind of levels. And then you get them through the toddler season, you're chasing them through the house, and then you get them off to kindergarten and off to middle school, and then you're working through sports. And it just seems like the cycles. And my hope is that you finally find that place of rest. And I think what I'm learning is the rest comes from time with the Lord, not from taking time out, because it doesn't slow down.
It doesn't slow
And
down.
so,
Now, it will
yeah.
someday be like this season that my husband and I are in now with the 12 grandchildren. Like there are times where, well, our family has 24 people in it now. So the family has 24 people. So this is a lot of people that we are always in close relationship with. So that's very time consuming. However, when it's just the two of us only have responsibility for the two of us, because technically we're empty nesters, and we are empty nesters. None of our children or grandchildren live with us. So we're empty nesters. So it's either we have 24 people at the house or there's just the two of us.
Wow, that's awesome.
It is so awesome. If I can just encourage you, hold on through this time. Get a view, go way up with God, and get a view, look down, and if you can just see, this season is so temporary. So all the stress that this season causes, because of the financial stress and because every person in your family is going through transition right now, so it's a stressful time. But if you can just get this bird's eye view to say, you know what, this is going to be so beautiful on the other side of it. It really is so beautiful, because there's nothing greater than enjoying your grown sons and daughters and your grandchildren together. To just be able to sit back with your husband and say, wow, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Yeah.
done. We did it. And then you have to know you really will be done parenting. Now, you're not quite yet, because they're not all independent adults, but in the very near future, you will be done. And that college graduation and that wedding day, I really hope that you embrace a lot of what this book talks about. Embrace that you are finished parenting, because you know what? Adult sons and daughters, they need to be able to know that you are their friend. You'll always be their mom, but you won't be mothering them anymore. And your husband will always be their dad, but he won't be fathering them. You guys won't be parenting, as in telling them what to do. And I tell you, you might as well practice now keeping your mouth shut, because it is so hard. It is so hard. But I think as kids come into this transition period of time and they go off to college, there's a lot of things that you want to keep your mouth shut about. And
Yeah,
and
they've done really well, and I'm really
yeah,
proud of them.
yeah,
I just think it hit all at once, and then it hasn't slowed down.
yeah.
And then all of a
You're not
sudden we're
through
in the
it.
middle of it, and then
That's
we're
right.
almost to the end of it, and it
Well,
was like a storm. It was like a fast storm.
You are kind of, but you've got still probably a solid 5 or 6 more years until they're all independent adults. So finish
Right.
strong. I just want to encourage you. This is a time to finish strong by really digging deep into what is going on in your own heart, what is going on in your own character, because this is the final days, and these final years are going to go by pretty quickly, like their final days. But keep trusting the Lord. Thank you for calling. Keep
Thank you.
investing, loving your husband, loving your children, and remember, you do your part, because that's the only part that you have control over. God bless you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Trina.
Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining me on The Her Show today. I'm here with you every Monday to help you make your home a place of love and peace. Until next time, hugs and high fives.